Good afternoon. My name is Nora. I'm the chair of the Pinsky Favorite Poem Project with the Friends of the Chautauqua Writing Center. It's really wonderful to have you join us here. This is our 17th consecutive annual Pinsky Favorite Poem Project. We've proven it's going to take a lot more than tough times and pandemics to interrupt this important work. And now, this world of tradition and scholarship, maybe poetry needs to hold an even more important and special place in our lives. Through persevere and the dislocation of our time and the best of love and aging, maybe only poetry will do. Our recent poet laureate, Ada One, said poetry is the possibility to show us our age, to connect to our fears, to celebrate joy, to make room for the whole spectrum of human emotion. Great poetry is the place where we come to get the strength to heal, to become whole again, and then recommit to the world. As poet laureate in 1997, Robert Pinsky founded the Favorite Poem Project, which is now here in witness to reach thousands of Americans with varying backgrounds and ages and from every state, and now share their favorite poems. Contrary to the perception that poetry was only for academia, for the elite, Robert Pinsky believes that poetry does have a strong presence in the American culture. So his project was to provide an outlet for that form of hunger for poetry. Dr. Cohen is a longtime supporter of the Writing Center, and she wrote Robert Pinsky's Favorite Poem Project to Chautauqua with Robert Pinsky in 2009. We thank her, and we'll give her a welcome. We thank you for joining us. So the format today is easy. Our readers will be pulled up in the order of the program, and they will tell us the poem they'd like to read and how they feel that poem speaks to them. They will then share the poem with you. Susan Nussbaum has been coming to Chicago for 35 years. She is the poet of 4 collections of poetry and has another volume scheduled to be published in 2026. Susan said she learned much about the craft of writing poems from her participation in many wonderful style poetry workshops given here at the Chautauqua Writers Center. Good afternoon. I'm great to be here. Thank you for bringing the continuum of the grade for the garden favorite poem to Chicago. I'll start right in. My granddaughter was going to piano today, asked me to choose a poem, me to read at their wedding in June 2024. So I offered them the selection, 3 or 4, and they chose the one about to read. It was their favorite, and it happens that it is my favorite too. It's entitled So Much Happiness by Naomi Shihakman, a wonderful poet. And she was the poet this morning, Maddie Smith, referred to her as an inspiration. It happens that she will be reading next week, right here at this podium, Thursday the 14th, as part of the CLSC also. The poem certainly reflects the pervasive sentiment felt by everyone who witnessed that wedding, including the bride and groom. And I especially love the way happiness is characterized as floating, simply ours for the taking. So much happiness. It is difficult to know what to do with so much happiness. With sadness, there is something to rub in, a wound to tend, lotion and cloth. When the roof falls in around you, you have pieces to pick up, something to hold in your hand, like ticket stubs or change. A heaviness flows. It doesn't need you to hold it down. It doesn't need anything. Happiness lands on the roof of the next house sitting and disappears when it comes. You are happy either way. Even the fact that you once lived in a peaceful tree house and now live over quarry and noise and dust cannot make you unhappy. Everything in the life of this home, it too could wake up filled with possibilities of coffee cake and bread peaches. And love even the flowers need to be swept, the soiled linens and scratched concrete. Since there is no place large enough to contain so much happiness, you shrug, you raise your hand, and it flows out of you into everything you touch. You are not responsible. You take no credit, as the night sky takes no credit to the moon, but continues to hold it and bear it, and that will be known. Chautauqua is a company acting conservatory member visiting Chautauqua for the first time in summer. She's a passionate data artist and is currently a graduate school in San Diego studying her MFA in this summer, she has performed in the Execution of Justice, Panorama, and The Making of One Act, directed by the Brown League Directing Colors. As an actor and writer, she plans to live in New York City after graduation. She's a lover of poetry, people, and will many big questions. Hi, I'm Bailey. I'm teaching the summer day in Mary Oliver. Classic. This poem has come up so many times in my life, and it never gets old. I just put these questions in the transition. And I chose it because it feels appropriate. And specifically today, it means something to me because I'm coming from San Diego for graduation, and I love the ocean always changing, it's busy, and I'm Gen Z, so I'm fast, and I'm always consuming things, and my tempo is like that. And coming to Chautauqua this summer is such a hit, but kind of being by a lake, being distilled was new and a little challenging, and has been so rich. And I'm learning something about urgency coming from quiet, and urgency coming from stillness, and urgency coming from love. The summer day. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who teased sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what up there. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and left, how to stroll through the field, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else could I have done? Doesn't everything die at last? And too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wise and precious life? Maybe the fun devil from Arizona State University, where he graduated as an English major. He then went out to fly airplanes in the Navy, and then he can, but in his retirement, he discovered Chautauqua and has been a full season attendee since 2010. While he has participated in many literary arts workshops, short story discussions, and writing projects. He encourages you to become involved in all things offered by the Friends of the Chautauqua Writers. As a lucky boy, he comes with me on the boat was from Australia.
Thank you, Norma. Sarah Teasdale is the author of this, my chosen poem, Night in Arizona. Sarah Teasdale was, without these, was a popular lyrical poet in the early 1900s, growing up in St. Louis, in similar conditions to Emily Dickinson. She basically lived in an upstairs room for early on and took her meals up there quite often and spent time writing. When she was 32, she moved to New York City in 1917. She won the first Pulitzer Prize for poetry. She became part of the intelligentsia, and as they often did it wherever she spent time in the Southwest, especially Arizona. I grew up in southern Arizona in the desert, and went looking for a Arizona poem for this reading. I passed her Australian poems now. And I love this lyrical poem created with mystery and emotion. And it's Night in Arizona by Sarah Teasdale. The moon is a charred ember, dying in the dark. Off in the crouching mountains, coyotes bark. The stars are heavy in heaven, too great for the sky to hold. What have they done? Shattered the earth with cold. No lights are over the mesa. The wind is hard and quiet. I stand in the darkened window and cry like a child. The moon is a charring ember dying into the dark. Off in the crouching mountains, coyotes bark. The stars are heavy in heaven, too great for the sky to hold. What if they fell and shattered to the floor? No lights are over the mesa. The wind is hard and wild. I stand at the darkened window and cry like a child. Thank you.
Proper is managing director of the literary house. Excellent is a handful when she's not studying, teaching, or supporting our library arts program, stepping into enjoying gardening and exploring local parks, woodland areas, with a fiance and forestry dog. She's a good friend to all of us here at the Chautauqua Writing Center and a friend to all of us. If you didn't dedicate this call out this morning from calling out the center. I'll have a band listening on my Thank you. Great to be here with you all today. One of my, I have regularly read all of my data moments here, called 10 Stars, but recently, a poet, Andrew Gibson, passed away from ovarian cancer. He was the Colorado Poet Laureate and all did an incredible activist for LGBTQ plus rights, and just an amazing full-breaking poet and sort of a poet. And I wanted to use this as an opportunity to contribute to the more they've done in the world. So this is, I sing the body electric, especially when my power is up. I sing body electric, especially when my power is up. This is my body. I have weather beams. They're especially sensitive to dust storms and hurricanes. When I'm nervous, my teeth chatter like a wheelbarrow collecting rain. I am rusty when I talk. It's the storm in me. The doctor says someday I might not be able to walk. It's in my blood like the iron. My mother is a trusted man. She held herself together. The day she could no longer hold my knee, she said, our kneecaps are our purpose. Everyone can walk farther on a kneecap than they can on their feet. This is my heartbeat. Like yours, it is a hatchet. It can build a house with carbon down. My mouth fires the words coming out. Don't care that they are naked. There is something burning in here. When I burn, I pull my shelf my ears. Listen for the parade when I was 7. The man who played the bagpipes wore a skirt. He was Scotland. I wanted to move there. Wanted my sign to be the sign of the unfinished book. My weight, the first and last page. The day my ribcage became a monkey bar for a girl hanging on my ex's words, they said, you were not allowed to love her. Tried to take me by the throat and teach me I was not a boy. I had to unlearn their frequency, refused to make wishes on the star, on the sheriff's cap. I started wishes on the stars and the sky. I said to the sun, tell me about the Big Bang. The sun bang, earth become. I carried that hurt on the tip of my tongue and whispered, let's go apart. Every chance I get that my family treat to be sure I have not left. You do not have to leave to arrive. I'm learning this slowly. So sometimes when I look in the mirror, my eyes look like a hole in the shoe of the shoe shine man. My hands are busy on the wrong thing. Some days I call my arms things. Well, my head in clouds. It will take me a few more years to learn. Flying is not pushing away the ground. Safety is not always safe. You can climb on every stone. I am aiming to do better. This is my body. My exhaustion pipe will never pass inspection, and still my lungs know how to breathe. Like a burning mat, every time I get lost behind the curtain of her hair, you can find me at the window, following my path to a trail of blood and snow. The night I opened my name, the doctor who stitched me up asked me if I could get for attention. For the record, if you've ever done anything for attention, this poem is attention. Title is your name. It will scour the city bridge every night. You stand kicking Irish shadows, staring at the river. It does not want to find the body, doing anything but loving what it loves. So love what you love. Say, this is my body. It is no one's but mine. This is my nervous system wanting, my wanting blood, my half-pain addiction, my tongue, staircase to the top right, where I think about her, and after her back, bless your heart, bless your body, bless your holy half. They are so smart. You are so full of brain. There is so much growth. Hallelujah to your weather game. Hallelujah to the ache, the cold, the fall, the pain. Hallelujah to the grace and the body and every thought of us. Thank you for West Virginia. We stand for the first time at Chautauqua. She's a professional actress and delighted to be currently serving in a year-round, full-time employee at the Chautauqua Daily Arts Education. In this role, she teaches students of all needs levels how to cultivate social and emotional skills through drumming, the Young Playwright Project, and opera in school. She grew up in an area with incredibly limited access to arts education and became passionate about expanding such opportunities through Appalachia. It's a real joy for her to get to serve the Chautauqua County community in this way. Thank you, Norma and Fred and the representative Chautauqua Writers Center. It is a pleasure to be here with you all today. My name is Rachel Lyson, and today I'll be reading Everything is Waiting for You by James Blunt. This is a poem that I discovered my first year here at Chautauqua in 2022. And to share a little personal with you all, it's really very community and very possible where girls are creating the opportunity to exercise independence. And my first summer here at Chautauqua was the first time I ever really accomplished. And this poem is what I found out. Your great mistake is to act with all that which you were alone. As with life for a progressive and cunning fun with no place to tiny period transgression. If you abandon it to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence, the chorus crowding out of the solar voice. You have noticed the way the silkfish in the room, or the window latch brings you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The door has always been there to frighten you and invite you. And time you're alone is your true lack of divinity. Put down the weight of your loneliness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you drink. The cooking pot has left their areas of resistance, even good as you have that. All the birds and creatures of the world are in utter need of self. Everything waits for you. Thank you. The picture writing and poetry teacher came from D'Agostino and taught middle school or high school students in Chautauqua County for 32 years. Now she enjoys writing history novels in the New York City and the New York State, and being an enthusiastic member of Friends of the Chautauqua Writers Center. Unfortunately, she grew really this week and in the hospital having an emergency appendectomy. As far as we know, she's doing well. We're offering good things. On the program, she was going to again, very well alone, which I will read in her. The Kitten by Ariel. More amazed than anything, I took the photography last newborn kitten with the one large eye in the center of the small forehead from the house pet bin and buried it in the field behind the house. I suppose I could have given it to a museum. I could have called the local newspaper. But on the day I took it out into the field and opened the earth and put it back, saying it was real, saying life is infinitely inventive, saying what other amazements lie in the dark speech of people. Yes. I think I did right to go out and learn and give it back peacefully. And because of the thing, with the breath of blossom of me. Realize her annual pilgrimage to Chautauqua, annual pilgrimages to Chautauqua, the most significant golden thread in her life. Now in her 70s, she's even more reflective about the significance of the thread and ultimately weave the tapestry of our life. The poem I chose for today reflects universal truth, but also has personal meaning for me. Because of its relevance to all the summers I've spent in Chautauqua. My parents brought me here in the late 1960s when I was very grateful. And so this has just the other age of online resonates much for me. And it was a couple decades ago, it's known that in reflection I realized that my annual trips out here to Denver, Colorado were more than a 3-day trip. They were truly pilgrimage and a golden thread. Harper Palmer, the poet, had this to say about his poem, which he wrote when he was just entering his 80s. As things fall away, other things, important things, are revealed, including the fact that we are not separate beings or not so alone. Our fates are forever threaded together with all beings in an intricate tapestry of life. When we pretend to be candid, heedless of one another, we make deadly mistakes. But when our lives honor our interdependence with each other and the earth, we live in what William Blake calls eternity sunrise. That's the reality I want to celebrate with this poem from Robert Pinsky. Everything falls away. Sooner or later, everything falls away. You, the work you've done, your successes, large and small, your failures too, those moments when you were light, alongside the times you became one with the night. The friends, the people you loved who loved you, those who might have wished you ill, none of it is trial. All of it is soon to go, or going, or gone. Everything falls away, except the thread you following, unknown, all along. The thread that strings together all your been and done, the thread you didn't know you were tracking until, toward the end, you see that the thread is what stays as everything else falls away. Follow that thread as far as you can, and you'll find that it does not end. It leads into the unimaginable vastness. Your life never was a solo maturity deep secret. It was always part of the great weaving of nature and humanity, and immensity we come to know only as we follow our own small thread to the place where they merge and hold. Each of our threads runs its course, then joins in life together is the magnificent tapestry, this masterpiece in which we live. So, becoming Chautauqua in 1998, joined the board of the Chautauqua Writers Center in 2009. Credited teacher and award-winning director of community plays and published poetry. Recently, I have been in post-production of Crowley Arnold, a freshman came into play the symphony, and her name was Julia Good, right? And that makes it really hard for the rest of us to measure up. He's been a long-time friend of Chautauqua Writers Center, and to me, he's been a wonderful support for my pet project.
I find that some of my favorite poems are kind of, they deal with large topics such as love and family. I find that other of my favorite poems are silent. They deal with specific moment in time. My really favorite poems you both at once. And I think this this plus it's by one of my favorite poets, George Billier, who teaches in Cleveland and has taught here at Chautauqua. In some ways, I think the poem implicitly can be divided into many what can a poet do now. I'll be butchered the German. Please give me that German speaking wife. It is Silver Simon by George Billier. Here in Berlin, they have these interesting little brass plaques, maybe 4 inches by 4 inches, embedded in the sidewalk in front of various buildings, thousands of them around the city of Silver Simon, or Duncan Block. Handy little reminders. And now and then he glance down, and maybe there's just 3 of them together, a little penguin. Jacob and Leah and Elsa Allerman, arrested on this spot, March 7, 1942, murdered in Auschwitz. The plaques like punctuation, like brass areas where the sentence fragment of the line ended here and here and here. And it's interesting because back home, the language is keeping up. The elected leader is shouting at the crowds, send back where they came from. Them being Muslims and Latinos, so forth. And the crowds love it. They're shouting at that, giving voice to something locked up in them for so long. And it was so good to shout it out, make it go under the heavens. And I guess what's interesting from over here is that certain people keep saying, hey, this kind of reminds me of Hitler. And certain others say, no way. We hear this. This is not like Hitler. Not even close. And I look down those profiles. Not music, Jacob, and letters, and also, and chance for violence and hunger. I mean, you can hear them all the way over and over.
And Mitchell is in the other group. So we're just going to go out of order here. As I said previously, Georgia is a long-time supporter of all things at Chautauqua. She founded the annual Poetry Live Festival in Sarasota, Florida, where she currently owns the forum. And here she has this bookstore that hosted many touristy poets, including Robert Pinsky, and I believe our public has done several times, who is the Michael Iredell Artistic Director of Literary Arts here at Chautauqua.
Thank you for that introduction, Norma. And she mentioned Robert Pinsky been to my bookstore where I do the annual Poetry Life Festival. But just coincidentally, he came down and did our first favorite poem project in Sarasota, and we do that every year. So this is the 17th year. I think this year is the 13th year in Sarasota. In town, come for that. I'm going to read a poem by Naomi Chautauquan. And many of us think of poetry as poetry of love, poetry of happiness, or of nature. We think of Mary Oliver, for example, or we think of poems of heroic feats, and we think of the Charters of Life Brigade, or we think of occasional poems like a poem for presidential inauguration. But in times like these, and many times in our history, there have been poems that are written out of deep sadness, out of deep oppression. And Naomi Chautauquan writes beautifully for those things. Her father was Palestinian, her mother American. She spent quite a bit of time in Palestine. You can write a lot about that. This book, The Tiny Journalist, in fact, is entirely about Palestinian issues. She's going to be here next week as a CLSC author, and this book she'll be using. And I'm going to read you a poem from it because it seems so timely, even though this poem would have been written in probably 2015, 2016, because the book was published in 2019. It's called Gaza is Not Far Away. It's in your cup, the cup you just drank from. Empty bucket outside back door with an inch of rain. Sack of mulch to scatter on your winter bed. Do you see these things as luxury? It's the crosswalk kids marching. Mama with her yellow belt waving them through. It's rule. It's everything you keep a long time in your refrigerator. Pickles, thyme, apple butter. But that keeps our refrigerator and power to run it all day long. The world's largest open-air prison keeps ticking day to day. Alarm clocks, kindergarten, spinach mixed into eggs, little blue backpacks for kids, a few filtered water fountains, plastic bottles carried home, and milk. They can't go swimming, can't fish in their own sea, can't fly from their airport, can't visit the so-called holy city, can't do anything, basically, except be human, humane. They can go to the book club and be close. And people far away will turn their heads, see what God is doing now, or how well you're doing, or how hard it is. Even when 500 people die from bombs, they won't cry, because the dead ones weren't someone they knew was loved, like the person sitting next to them on the couch. In Montana. She said, for me to tell you, she saw your dog, she said, hi. I'm guessing there must be more to that story. It's not actually anything else to that story. I lived to be the opposite of what people expect encouraging routines. I was told to give 2 sentences of introduction, and I did. And I was told. And if you went home to give your dog a scratch and said, I said hi, I would be grateful. And that's all there is to that story. I am a blue dot. Not the blue dot, but a blue dot in one of the red counties and one of the red. And when I come to Chautauqua, it is interesting for me because I have the experience of being with many people who think the way that I do. But the people I live among, or people here, are a them. And when I go home and I want to translate what I learned here, how important it was, and how transformative I think it can be, and I share what I learned from you, to the ranchers and the sheep herders and my very red neighborhood, you are them. And all I want is to live a life where we are we. This poem, I went out to see all the down trees by Pastor Deborah McCain. To me, talks about the work that is required for all of us when we are among like-minded people or people with whom we disagree. The work that is required to be a we. I went out to see all the down trees. Nothing was where it was supposed to be, or even where it was 20 minutes ago. One of the only times I ever understood what nature was trying to say to me. But the people I always see at the farmer's market being very specific about their mushroom selection weren't the same. Already dragging branches onto the curb, fixing their lawn, resetting their Black Lives Matter signs. These were the people blasting, "Celebrate good time, come!" on the day Joe Biden was elected. One of them was high-fiving the police officer. The branches were still green on the ground. The sun hadn't browned the dead leaves yet. There was part of me that trusted them, my neighbors. I hadn't locked my door when I left. One neighbor said, I hired an arborist just a few weeks ago, and he said this tree was fine. The neighbor motioned for the tree currently pulling black power lines down on top of their red roof. Who could afford
would never own a house, or a tree, or my own car. But these were my neighbors, and we had to clean this up together. Doesn't recognize my face. I'm afraid I can't tell you too much about this poem, but I love my houses, so you know. It's called Still I Rise. You may write me down in the street, your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like us, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? As I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tide, just like hopes bringing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful pride? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard? If I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I got diamonds at the meeting of my God? Out of the hunt of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. David Cabbage is so much in Chautauqua religion for over 35 years, and is a teacher of speech, theater, and English, who discovered throughout 7th grade.
I want to come home. So, thank you, Nora. And also, thank you, Jordan. Some of the most important things I've seen happen about guidance education is today, Robert Cross. I came across when I became my discovered and learned to love his word in 1960 because John F. Kennedy and my 7th grade English. Of course, the road not taken there in the early morning, so stopping my movement. But virtues to remain with me long and keep haunting me when I hear it, when I speak it, when I think it. For 3 reasons. 1, the sound of the image are so brilliant. The sounds of the image. 2, it recalls the joy of creative, youthful self-engagement, meaning imaginary kids playing alone. And it reflects the wisdom earned from a life lived richly and wisely. First, I got when I see birches bend to left and right across the line of greater, darker trees, I like to think some voice is swinging them. But swinging doesn't bend them down to stay, as ice storms do. Often you must have seen them, loaded with ice and sunny wintry mornings after a rain. They took upon themselves as the breeze rises and turn many colored as to stir, crack, and break their enamels. Soon the sun's warm makes them shed crystal shells, gathering an avalanche on the snow front. Such heaps of broken glass slip away, something the inner dome of heaven had fallen. They are dragged with a gravity by the load. And they seem not to break, though once they are bowed so low for long they never right themselves. You may see their trunks arch from the wood years afterwards, trailing their leaves on the ground like girls on hands and knees to curl their hair before them over their heads to dry in the sun. But I was going to stay when truth broke in with all her mad clash about ice. I prefer to have some boy begging them, and he went out and in to touch the fed cows. Some boy from far from town to learn baseball, whose only play was what he found himself, summer or winter, and could play alone. One by one, he subdued his father's trees by riding them down over and over again until he took the stiffness out of them, and one but hung live, not one was left for him to conquer. He learned all there was to learn about launching out the wind, so not tearing the tree away to clean the ground. He always kept his foot to the top branches, finding carefully with the same things you use to fill a cup up to the brim, and even above the brim. Then he flung outward feet first with a switch, kicking his way down from the air to the ground. So was I once a swinger of virtue. And so I dream of going back to peace. It's been when I was weary of consideration and life too much like a tackle sport, where your face burns and tickles with cobwebs broken across it, and one eye is weeping from a twig having lashed across the open. I'd like to get away from Earth a while and then come back to it and begin over. May no faith willfully misunderstand me and have read what I wish to fashion away of return. Earth, the right place for love. I don't know when it's likely to go back. I'd like to go by climbing a birch tree and climb black branches of snow white comes forgotten, till the tree could bear no more, but take the top and set me down again. That would be good, both going and coming back. One could do worse than get a swimmer of birch.
Her backhouse says she's still around the Chautauqua. She retired in 2017 as a very successful vice president of Emily Rich Chair, which included the Missouri tenure, Sarah shepherded initiatives, programs, and investments that have enhanced Chautauqua's brand, particularly in the areas of lifelong learning and the library hub. Under Sarah's direction, Chautauqua's lecture programs have continued its evolution as a diverse contemporary platform, exploring matters that shape our world, racially affecting the most prominent, representative voices on all matters of timely topics. The 10 years ago, the establishment of a program partnership with such renowned cultural and educational organizations as the National Geographic Society, Jazz Lincoln Center, Sesame Workshop, and the National Museum of African American History and Culture, among many others. We are so greatly in your debt for these groundbreaking initiatives. Thank you.
And I think that introduction was lovely. Thank you, Norma. Was longer than this point I'm going to read. And I actually chose it because I love Billy Collins. I began to love Billy Collins when I first met him when he was here on our morning platform in, I think it was 2008. This day brings probably so many memories. I remember sitting with Georgia and Robert Pinsky talking about the favorite point concept, and he said, "Do not let people bring their introduction to the point up to the microphone." And I watched Georgia rank the amount of people and then realized we all realized that we sometimes we need our notes. I didn't bring it because Pinsky said, just get up there and tell people why you like it. And I like Billy Collins because he's ordinary. Because he writes profound things using ordinary images. He told us also, so it's ironic that I'm following Robert Frost because you may remember that he said some of Frost's points that are not as famous are the better ones because of the consonants and the rhythm, and they read that with such passion. That's wonderful. I'm going to read Cheerio by Billy Collins, and this may or may not be one. It's not one that you can just say the title and start laughing like you can The Lantern or Why I Don't Go to Gun or The White House with our tax got a longer title than the point. But Cheerios is not one of his better known, but it just spoke to me when I decided that I wanted to read this year. So here we go. Cheerios by Billy Collins. One bright morning in a restaurant in, let's just wait for a minute, that's the fire. One bright morning in a restaurant in Chicago, as I waited for my eggs to go, I opened the Tribune only to discover that I was the same age as Cheerios. Indeed, I was a few months older than Cheerios, for today they were announced was his 70th birthday at Cheerios, whereas mine had occurred earlier in the year. Already, I could hear them whispering behind my astute and threadbare belt. Why, that dude's older than Cheerios. The way they used to say, why, that's old as the hill. Only the hills are much older than Cheerios or any American breakfast cereal, and more noble and enduring are they. To my bar of sunlight, illuminating.
Chautauqua for more than 50 years. Sarah participated in the Chautauqua short story class during summer and helped create short story Zoom discussions in our group year round, especially setting up conversations along to improve quality of life. I know there's much more to the story that I know she was going to accomplish. Thank you, Nora. So I chose this poem by Rumi, 13th century, 15th century poet, who I think I began to love here in Chautauqua as part of the interfaith kind of work that our community does. I am Christian, my husband and my children are Jewish, and I started reading Sufi work to make sure that I could round it out. So, 17 years ago, a little more than 17 years ago, we got a dog, a puppy. We were deciding what to name the dog. And we had a book, it was the 500th anniversary of Rumi, a little book of poems on the table. We said, let's name the dog Rumi. Then we'll have a Muslim part of our interfaith family. We'll close the circle. Well, it wasn't a smart thing to do. We made a friend to his neighbor. I thought we ought to be able to tell people about Rumi when they asked me what dog Rumi, like then explain a little bit more about the name. Well, I have met somebody, one of our neighbors, who is speaking Muslim, who grew up in Pakistan, is descended from Rumi. And he shared with me when I told him what my dog's name was. He said, oh, you know, Rumi is like that. He said, you know, when I grew up in Pakistan, they told us that the Americans hate us so much that they do things like naming the dog after our greatest religion. So my husband said, how do you feel now? And he said, I have been in America a long time. He said, it's just family, your husbands are here, and dogs are here. So we, my beloved dog died this past February. He spent 17 summers here in Chautauqua. As part of my grieving process, I've been writing Rumi's poems, segments are very short, in my time and day every morning, part of my grieving process. So I share the deep transcendent wisdom of Rumi with you, two very short poems, so short that Norma asked me to read the second one. Rumi, the breeze at dawn. The breeze at dawn has a secret to tell you, don't go back. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill, where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back. Second poem is Be Yourself. Remember the lips where wind breath originated, and let your nose be clear. Don't try to end it. Be your nose. I'll show you how it's not. Go up on the roof at night in the city of the soul. Let everyone climb on their roof and sing their notes. Sing loud. Remember the lips where your wind breath originated, and let your nose speak. Don't try to end it. Be your nose. I'll show you how it is not. Go up on the roof at night in the city of the soul. Let everyone climb on their roof and sing their notes. Sing loud. Inspired by the end of the project, that, the family decided that they would have their own favorite home project in their home as well as their family gathering. There was much to do, much from and much to maintain. And Sarah laid down the rules that you will to the poem, and you will tell us why you like it, and you will read it. Which they did last week, and now all the naysayers are saying, can we do this every year? What we don't need to do is all we have to do today. We don't have to enjoy the reading, we walk away thinking that we can do a little more, or a lot more poetry in your life. I encourage you to think about having your own favorite poem project in your family, or the next time we're going to go, or guys, or friends, together, maybe that would be a lovely way to spend time with us. We thank you for having joined us with the Chautauqua Princess of Writing Center.